Heavy metal hooks up with rides. We're not talking music. We're talking about the most hardcore shop you're ever gonna see. These are old school metalheads who specialize in perfecting the chassis and taking it from there. One of their new projects is a forgotten old pickup that's being made into the shop truck, a vehicle that will symbolize the look and craft of this Southern California hot rod factory. So fire up the torch and slap on your safety goggles. This is iron, steel, and all that heavy metal. This is Rides. Hot rods and custom cars that started as those old machines at the swap meet. A lot of very used merchandise that needs a lot of hard work. And if that hard work is done right, you can end up with something like this. But before you can get there, you have to cut and bend and weld a whole lot of metal. All of this metal and the ways in which it is shaped is brought to you by the team at Scott's Hot Rods and Customs in Ventura, California. A shop that has no concept of metal being cold, hard, and immovable. Here at Scott's, it's all about showing the steel who's boss. And the big man here is Justin Scott Padfield, a builder who makes no bones about his mission in life.
Don't know how to draw. Don't pretend I know how to draw. But I can take a piece of metal and cut it up and make it look like something.
He can make it look like something amazing, like any of these projects that are currently in his shop. Cars and trucks that are as solid as the day is long.
I don't think this thing has brakes either.
Here's the gang's new project. It's a major restoration that'll really put this team's metal shaping skills to the test. This old girl is a '56 Chevy Big Window, and it's going to be completely redone for some very finicky clients, the team here at Scott's. Once completed, this Chevy will carry on an age-old piece of hot rod tradition, becoming something that will be affectionately referred to as the shop truck. Let's just say it's gonna need a little work. And the shop VP, Jeff Savalio, starts the process out by sizing up the job.
Pull the hood, we'll pull the front fenders and sheet metal, set it wherever you guys want to put it, pull the motor out of it, motor tranny, I guess leave the tranny on the motor, just make sure there's no fuel lines or nothing on there, and then we'll start from there, get down to the chassis and start hacking on it.
This '56 has been hanging around here for a while. It became shop property thanks to a little bartering and some good old-fashioned horse trading. As for becoming the shop truck, that's a lot of responsibility. A good shop truck ends up being both mascot and flagship, displaying the expertise of the shop at every car show and auto rally that it's brought to. This truck is in a pickle. It wants to be a hot rod, but to make that happen, this group of metalheads are gonna rip it apart from rim to rail. And Justin's allowing the team only 90 days to give this heap a radical, painful facelift. The front end of this 56 will get a lot of attention. Scott's Hot Rods and Customs prides itself on both the restoration and the new creation of front end. They've also been known to build one hell of a chassis. Matt and Mike have built their fair share of chassis here at Scott's, and so that part of the build should be a breeze for this 56.
All the years they've been making headers and they still don't make them where you can get the bolts and wrenches in them. Can't believe they still got a generator on this dog.
Old truck, man.
So everything underneath's all ready to go.
It's all ready to come out, dude.
Mike Ridley is the shop foreman here at Scott's. He's the leader of a team that includes everybody from Wyoming Tech grads to guys with 27 years of welding under their belts. Matt Noble is another top guy on the team. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty on any part of the project. He's a colorful character who knows how to go toe-to-toe with the equally colorful Justin.
I guess we're your typically clean-cut builders in the shop. The guys who got tattoos, the guys who got facial earrings, to guys who listen to loud music all day long.
Even though there's a lot left to be decided on the truck, by the look and sound of things here, 3 things are certain. It's gonna be hip, it's gonna be radical,
A little odd looking, but
and it's definitely gonna be loud.
The noise gets overwhelming sometimes. It's just, you get so many machines going at once, it just becomes just a steady stream of noise.
It's so noisy in here, there are times when this team might not be able to think. But that's not going to stop anyone from having their own loud opinion about what kind of truck should represent the shop.
People will be throwing in their own ideas on the trucks. We're going to have kind of like a, I guess, everybody's personality in the truck.
And this ride is no exception. With the engine coming out and the next steps being planned, it's time to take inventory.
We're going to use the basic cab, basic frame rails, all the rest of stuff's getting cut out of it. Cab is not going to probably get a whole lot of modification. It's all coming down to bare frame rails. Rear end, everything's going to the trash. We'll start with new.
Seat belts, this is the floor. Leave all the windows in for right now. We're going to pull it off and put it next door so we get the frame all done first.
Okay, he's the boss of the shop. But that's not going to stop us from asking the question that's on more than a few minds. So we asked him.
What's wrong with my voice? You know, to be very honest with you, I don't know. It's been like that my whole entire life. I do have a deeper part of Justin, I guess, as you might say. And we actually play it quite a few times on people and they don't even know. And you know, I mean, it's one of those things where it can just come out and
start talking like this, and you would never know it's for me.
yeah.
While that's both funny and a little spooky, nothing could be as eerie as this haunted house of an interior. A truck cab that intrigues as it repels.
Maybe we'll find a winning lottery ticket. How long's it been since you've seen those? Blue chip stamps. I haven't seen those in 20 years.
While blue chip stamps might now be posted in a museum, they're probably younger than many of the replacement parts that have made their way onto this truck since the days of Elvis and Eisenhower.
3 little pigs. You're killing me, man. Secondhand smoke kills.
And if there was an old Big Bad Wolf who could once blow through metal with the force of a torch, he's been replaced with a new toy in the shop, the plasma cutter. This baby shoots plasma out of its tip at 20,000 feet per second, at temperatures that can reach 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They cost up to $100,000 and can make a 6-inch cut in half-inch steel in under a minute. Forget the math. Trust us. That's fast.
It's a lot faster. It's a lot faster than using a torch. It's a lot easier to set up. You can use it for anything. Sheet metal, heavy steel, anything. It's a lot easier to get into places, and you don't got to worry about turning the gas on and off. It's a lot faster than a cutting wheel or a grinder, so it's probably the most universal cutting tool we got.
It's cutting edge, but it still comes with many of the same risks and dangers as the old school metal cutters. But that's something that Matt knows all about.
I hold the record for going to the hospital for getting stuff in my eye 4 times in 1 week. Oh, after a day of plasma cutting, you see spots for a day, and you got a lot of little burns on yourself. It's not a fun tool by any means, but it definitely does the job a lot better than all the rest of them. They come in and they, like when I'm like this, they'll come in and sit on the lens. It's the same thing when you weld. You see the BBs come in and sit on the inside of your mask, but what are you gonna do? They can't seal off your face. Wear some scuba gear.
As the deconstruction comes to a close, they have to start where any team would start, at the bottom. Luckily for this 56, that bottom was where Scott's Hot Rods really shine.
The base of your car is the chassis. I mean, that is the foundation of your car or truck. If the chassis is not right, the car will never be right.
Don't worry, it'll be all right. That's no shock. But the rest of the vehicle will be all surprises, coming from a team that designs as it moves along. Whatever's gonna happen, it'll be fun. Hot rods. They've got a look, a sound, and they definitely have an attitude. And any hardcore builder will tell you the real ones, well, they're not made out of fiberglass. Here's a little number that's metal to the core. And here at Scott's Hot Rods, the same can be said for the interior.
For the whole floor pan, trunk floor, door panels, inside the roof for the headliner grill, it's gonna be all metal.
A metal headliner. For those who know nothing about car interiors, trust us, this is a pretty gutsy move. Suede and carpet can cover up a lot of imperfections in a vehicle. This team is putting their metal skills out in the open. It's a risk when you consider that this hot rod is being built to compete in the show car arena.
It has to look right. You have to be able to walk by that car and go, yeah, it sits right, the lines are flowing. And if it doesn't, we stop what we're doing. We'll cut it up, do it again. Sometimes cut up again and do it again.
Which is exactly what they're doing. It might look like destruction to some, but metal is clay to this gang. So when it has to be reshaped, that's what happens. And since these guys design as they go, this is what the creative process looks like in this shop. So as this all-metal roadster takes 3 steps back, our shop truck moves ahead. As our happy passenger continues to tag along, his smile comes from this flashback of Mike's earlier prediction.
Cab is not going to probably get a whole lot of modification.
Yeah, well, that idea sort of went out the window.
Plan was to chop the top first originally. We're going to chop it a couple of inches, just so real clean, sell a truck, but after kicking around the shop here, talking to a few guys here, we've done so many of those in the past, it's another truck. So we figured out we're going to take this big one of cab and make it into our roadster.
For those who might not know, roadster means topless, and convertibles, they don't count. And though a major haircut on a vehicle like this might sound like a good time, to a truck lover, losing all this big, beautiful back glass is a crime.
We don't play with clay, we don't play with putty, don't play with foam, don't play with fiberglass. It's raw metal here.
This is a fun part. Cutting it up and creating a new car is a fun part. And when it's done, you'll like it.
As the glass comes out, the temporary supports go in. This is because it's the top that's actually holding the whole cab together.
We'll come here, like I said, we'll cut through the side of it again. And we'll come up at the top of the reveal on the windshield, probably like 3 inches or so. We'll cut in the roof there.
All right.
The client for this truck is the shop itself. There's no car show to catch, no pressing deadlines, but Justin's given the team 90 days to get this done, so they can get back to the business of hot rods.
This is the fire extinguishers at, just in case.
The plasma cutter goes back to work, and piece by piece, Justin lets the light in, and inches closer to that still very, very distant roadster. Soon, they create enough cuts and enough empty spaces, and before we know it, here it comes. Presto. Now the top's off, and even our little friend can see that it's on its way to becoming a fun-in-the-sun roadster. And what could be cooler than that?
Do some braces from here to here, cross so it can't move, and move this whole thing back.
Move the cowl and everything?
And once it's moved back, we know it's how we're going to want it, then we can cut it. And,
How far back you want it?
well, right now it looks like so, I mean,
Even if we just shorten it like in 8 inches.
it still looks like it's got to be pulled back, man.
Pull it back, man.
All right, we're going to pull it back.
By now, all of the builders from Scott's have had a hand in this project, including Caleb Smith, a talented young metal shaper who dives right into the mix. As Caleb joins the project, everybody's flying on nothing but instinct. There's no how-to booklet for turning an old utility truck into a topless custom.
And you see up, what's that? Down. And basically from where it's at, we basically came down probably 4 or 5 inches right now. It's still not low enough though. See the happy face? Probably like right at the top of the glass, be like right there. Ready to go to paint tomorrow. It's gonna Bondo it all up.
It's the beginning of the road for our truck, but it's the end of the road for our little passenger. He's gonna have to catch a new ride because this one's run out of room. Now it's on to the part of the truck that makes this vehicle a truck, the bed, which will be about as one-off and custom as a truck bed can be.
It's pretty much all we're going to use from the stock bed, just the fenders, that's it. Everything else can be made. Make like a dotted line with that plasma cutter when I cut it. And then I'm gonna go take it on a table that's real square on the end. And I'm gonna lightly hit it over, and those cuts will give me somewhat of a relief to bend it over real easy. That'll give me a nice straight line. That'll end up being the bottom of the bed. That actually, the floor is gonna sit on top of those angles right there. And then right here, we're gonna go ahead and add the tubing. But this is a square panel right now. Once I get all my tubing bent, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this to the tubing. That way I get a tight fit. It's my first bed I've ever built, you know. It's everything's sort of the same, but everything's got its little twist, that's all. Right now I'm just trying to tack these braces in here, that way I know my panels are vertical. That'll help me with the mounting the fenders and shaping the front there.
Don't spend too much time, you know, drawing a car up and really looking at it and critiquing it and going over it. Now there's a lot of guys that do, a lot of guys do a real good job at it, but that's just not up our alley there.
Later, without a design but hardly by accident, their radical new truck is coming together in a big way.
Yeah, we were actually just getting a stock bed, you know, just go from there. But again, you know, we're building this truck to show people, you know, I mean, really what, you know, capabilities are of our shop.
And if this is what they can do with the back end of the truck, it makes you wonder what they can do with the front end. If you're gonna do metal, there's no truer vehicle than this lead sled. It's a 50s Ford that needs attention here at Scott's. So with only 45 days to go for Caleb and the boys to finish their radical new truck, Matt gets moved to another pressing project, the sled. It's a car that came into the shop as a full-blown Bondo buggy and has since had every panel remade from scratch. So while Matt moves on to the interior panels, it's time to say goodbye to this sled and return to the task at hand, our shop truck. This front end was created by Lawrence Bryrick, a builder and fabricator who's brand new to the team here at Scott's.
I remembered a number of years back when I was cruising down the freeway, seeing a Scott's hot rod trailer cruise on by in Ventura County, and I remembered that, and then I gave the guys down here a phone call.
And that phone call led to Lawrence signing up and starting work on the team mascot.
When I first saw it, it was just a shell sitting over at the other side of the shop there, and I was like, well, we'll see.
Lawrence saw the challenge that goes beyond turning a truck into a hot rod. And though this shop truck will be compared to these big, robust customs, the reality is that it's being made into a roadster, and by going that route, the finished truck will also be compared to these. They're sleek, they're clean, they're compact. And like this classic 32, they're a far cry from these custom pickups. And so what do when you're faced with mixing this with this? You get this. So with the radical assignment before him, Lawrence set to work on the key design cues that were already put into motion on the truck.
I think basically the idea of keeping everything round and smooth and making certain aspects of the truck a little bit smaller or narrower, etc., like, you know, taking the whole front of the hood and lowering it down 2 inches has helped bring the proportions of the truck together.
Something else that helped this transformation was the addition of Mercedes headlights. They were far from a perfect fit, but typical to this shop, the tools and torches did some convincing.
On something like this, I just looked at the whole area and figured what I didn't need, which was pretty much the whole front of the fender, and proceeded to cut it out.
With this design-as-you-go method, the team can stumble upon some very unexpected surprises.
We're going to put some water guns coming out. It's like squirt people.
So if anybody out there is looking for a one-of-a-kind 56 shop truck with a Euro-designed front end, a hand-fabricated bed, a really great moonroof, and a Buick-inspired squirt gun-toting hood, we have just the guy to call.
If he wants to buy the truck, he can contact Scott's Hot Rods 805. Pretty good, huh? So right now, Mike is doing basically the final assembly on the frame.
Well, you could call it a frame, but it's a little more than that. It's a rockin' creation for a pretty lucky shop truck. The front suspension is known as Scott Super Slam IFS. It's a custom-made air suspension that'll take your truck from 7.5 inches to the ground. The rear suspension is a Super Slam 4-bar. This number will take you to the ground from 10.5 inches. It's a race-inspired quick-change rear end, a beefy piece of machinery that can handle 1,500 horsepower.
The most impressive thing I feel in this whole frame is this motor.
This is an LS1 from their friends at Toddy Chevrolet. It's an engine you'd find in your late model Corvette. It came stock with 330 horsepower, but by installing this Magna supercharger, they've added about 200 more horses into the mix.
We've been working on this project, you know, honestly, probably the last 2.5 weeks, probably about 21 hours a day.
Mike was there from the start, doing everything from tearing out the original fuel lines to creating these new ones.
One is a fuel supply line, which is high pressure, runs about 50, 60 pounds, and the other one is a return line, because when you run that kind of pressure, you have to recirculate, bypass what's not used. it's a carbureted motor, it'd be a lot easier. One line and a vent line.
A one-off car like this is going to require a handmade exhaust system, so the team from Rewarder Custom Headers pays a visit. Hot chick welding. Now there's a phrase you don't hear every day. Brooke did the welding on the custom headers. She and her dad, Jim, have arrived to complete the installation of the truck's new exhaust system.
Well, we're just tidying up the rest of the exhaust here. We're going to just put everything together before we tighten everything, make sure that everything fits properly. We've coated the entire exhaust system, the tailpipes, the mufflers, all the way up to the headers. It gives it a nice finish. It doesn't turn color. And it also makes a little more power. It lowers the underhood temperature. It's a ceramic coating is what it's referred to in the industry. It's an aluminum suspended in a resin. It came out of aerospace. We, the taxpayers, spent a lot of money developing it.
Really, the most exciting for our part is when we see the body on this frame.
And this body has come a long way since the major deconstruction 86 days ago. So with only 4 days left to finish the project, the team's working around the clock. After all, if it's not done on time, who's gonna break the news to this guy? At first glance, you might think, cool car. It's a racy 32 with a big motor. But look closer. This power plant was built in Germany. It's a 532 horsepower V8 from Mercedes. And in typical fashion, this big piece of metal is getting reworked. All that remains is the shell of a roadster and a chassis. But this revolutionary chassis actually started Scott's Hot Rods. It's hand-built from scratch and began as something of a test for a young new fabricator.
It started as a joke when I had this idea. And the joke started, I was going to basically build a chassis to show myself that I can develop a chassis that people's gonna like, that I can actually sell. Because it literally took me 3 to 4 months to build the damn thing. I must have done the X member and the finished chassis probably 10 times over, because I didn't like them.
And though creating a chassis like this isn't an overnight process, the team here now has the art form down to a lot less time than it took to build this one. So while Scott's has built many one-off chassis, they've also been asked to upgrade a few old frames. There are a number of tricks when redoing these original bases, as well as other issues to consider.
When these cars were built back in the 30s and 40s and older, they weren't designed to have any power. You know, and today, you get, a lot of guys are putting some serious power to these cars and going out there and wanting to drive them hard, and then your chassis start twisting on you, you have problems with the body.
Or it could be a problem if the vehicle wants to dance. I'm sure the builders over at Chevrolet never knew their chassis would need to stand up to whatever you call this. Here's a chassis that Scott's just finished for a project that's both new and restored. With a 4-bar rear suspension, the piece is 100% TIG welded. A custom-designed X-member rides behind a hand-built front end. It's a new-school chassis for an old-school car.
What this chassis is, this is actually a 55, 57 Chevy frame that we built for a customer out of Porterville, California. This is designed for approach street. Pro seat, being that they can put like a 15, 14 wide wheel back here. As you can see here, it's got all the factory body mounts, you know, from here to here to here, and also in the back part of the frame. That's designed so basically you can take a stock body and put it right on the existing frame. The rear part of the floor section, the stock body will have to be redone because of the big frame rail kit you have here, designed for the Pro Street, you know, chassis.
The owner sent the body down to Scott's in order to bolt it onto the frame. They already cut the floor out of the trunk to start the process. They know it's going to fit on the body mounts. But what they don't know is how much clearance it's going to need in the back.
Just bring it over here, wait a little bit. Let's pull it back off and cut the tubs out of it. That's just a practice fit.
The wheel wells need to be cut in half. Since they're building a Pro Street Custom, they have to make room for those big meets. So with another attempt, it's a perfect fit. So while this 55 is just going into the shop, here's a completed 34 that's just coming out.
This car is a 1934 Cabriolet. This is an original steel car. Hood, side panels, fender, doors, rear quarters is all original steel. Very rare car.
Scott installed a modern suspension system, along with a 350 ZZ4 crate motor. The shop also modernized all the running gear, replaced the brakes, and updated the electrical. They put their hands on everything but the paint and interior.
As you see, it's got the original working rumble seat. A lot of guys always make them into working trunks, but you want to actually have a rumble seat. Not necessarily nobody sits back there, but that's where you want it. This is actually a factory step where you put your foot right on there, step on, get in the car.
The main goal was to take this 34 and turn it into a daily driver. So most of the focus went into the suspension. And with hardware like this, you can drive it on the street or drive it to the car show.
It's polished A-arms, chrome spindles, 4-piston polished calipers, coilovers, chrome springs, chrome rack and pinion. I mean, basically the whole suspension is full show. So when you look on the fenders, everything shines.
So with the overhaul done, Justin takes it out for a spin.
We just got the new front end put on it and just take it for a test drive around the block on the freeway to make sure everything's going to be stable and everything worked out really nice, you know, nice and straight. Stops great. Your fucking BMW can't do this.
So if you're going to perform a thorough test, you better lay some rubber.
We'll smoke them this time.
3 months ago, this 56 Chevy truck was ready for the salvage yard. But after a lot of time and hard work from the team at Scott's Hot Rods, it's becoming a cool, one-of-a-kind roadster.
Finished up the dashboard area. We just basically based it off what the new Corvettes have got and what a lot of other roadsters previously have had.
And something else a lot of roadsters have, bucket seats.
This is a comfortable seat, man.
Jesse Calderon has arrived to pre-fit some of the new interior. He also needs to talk to Justin about the plans for the one-of-a-kind truck bed.
Because this is going to be a highly visible area. Oh, yeah. You know, but the last thing I want is to have somebody walk up and go, man, what the f happened here? Our primers now, right now, Lawrence is going to be running tape lines on the doors. So after the tape line's on, you'll see how much we have to actually shave off the doors to make them fit. Because you don't want to spend, you know, $200,000 building a vehicle and then having your paint chip the first time you open and shut your door.
Okay, it's time to get serious. With most of the heavy lifting completed but none of the final touches in sight, this shop has decided to toss away the clock and get this project done.
I don't know what happened to the happy face. I think it got sad and took off. I couldn't really blame him at the moment. There haven't been too many frickin' happy faces around here lately. I'm getting ready to make some dust.
Past 24 hours plus, you know, here 8 in the morning, day ago, and you know what, pushing 2 o'clock now, so, you know, I'm hanging in there.
It's soon time for a layer of undercoating, applied by the boss himself. The poly primer goes down in preparation for final paint. The color was picked just yesterday, and it's a shade that will represent this shop to a T, flat black. It's a new look that's an old look. A retro finish that's the rage on rat rods and hot rods alike. Some call it satin, some call it primer, and some call it the only thing you can put on a car, especially if you want to express a little attitude.
You want to have that very aggressive, you know, say the outlaw look in a sense. So, you know, we're sick and tired of all the painted cars, and we want to show people you can be different, still have a badass vehicle, but have it still flat black and still draw more attention to the painted vehicle.
So as the paint goes on, the calls go out to the rest of the cavalry.
Oh, wait, that's the tire place right there. See, that's service. Hello, Mary? I just want like a really aggressive tread pattern is what we're after, because, you know, I mean, I want people when they see the rims are going to stand out like a sore thumb. I want the tires to be the same. You know, we're not just going to be pulling some trailer and go, look at this pretty truck. You know, tonight we'll probably be here at midnight tonight. All right. Well, call me back before you leave, right? All right. Bye. Service there, huh? They come to you.
Their pals at Colorado Custom Wheels sent over some major rims. Wrapped in rubber from Falcon tires, the rear will go with 20 inches by 12s, while the front will sport 18 by 8s. Now that the chassis is complete, it's off to hook up with that other giant piece of work. There's a slim chance that this pairing will be an immediate slam dunk. Connecting an all-new chassis to a rebuilt body can sometimes take a little finesse.
Because the frame goes inside the roll band.
Watch your arm, Dunk. I think that's it, dude.
It's a close fit, but the truck is going to need just a little bit of help. A couple of major issues are at hand.
We just last minute decided to do a little custom modification to these fender wells to make them a little thinner, just because it's a little too close to the wheel and the tire, so you know when we turn corners we don't want it to rub. So we're just going to trim this fender in here a little bit, take these wheels off first, and then trim the fender a little bit, and then dolly it over to make it a little more round. Just one of those things, man.
Body's so tight on this frame, the way we designed the body to wrap around over the back of the frame rails. The fuel pump for the motor is actually back on the back cross member there, and how this roll pan rolls in, it interferes with the fuel pump, so we're going to cut an access hole there. Fuel pump off, relocate the fuel pump so we can set the body back down the frame. The body right now is not sitting in the frame correctly.
But it will.
Okay, boys and girls. Well, tonight we just had a lovely time making a serious amount of mistakes, you know. You know, we just got this from the junkyard last week and paid our $500, and customer paid us $3.4 million so far, and it's still not enough money to finish this bad boy. And I mean, it's a bad boy.
And the worst part about this bad boy, it isn't done yet.
There was 3 of them, but we got hungry and barbecued the 3rd one.
They're in the home stretch with this shop truck at Scott's Hot Rods. Incredibly, they say that the finish line is in sight, mere hours away. And Justin insists that the truck will be moving by tonight, even if he has to push it himself. The hard part is that they're not just reassembling a machine they tore down 3 months ago, they're applying new pieces to a new vehicle. In fact, not much on this creation is from the original truck.
Yeah, the radiator support, this panel, and a few other pieces that are factory, but they've all been chopped and channeled and hacked about and glued back together.
It's a full team for the final thrash as the energy builds. And by now, the want to finish the truck is contagious. But all we want to know is, when are you going to start the thing?
About 15 minutes. Well, that's the plan at least. Whether or not it actually runs is a whole nother story.
The last-minute items are checked and rechecked before another attempt is made at starting the truck. Seats, electrical wires, you name it. It all receives a final installation or inspection. So with everything now where and as it should be, it's time for Justin to turn the key. Sunshine or moonlight, Justin Scott is going to give this Roadster a test drive. And as it slips away into the night, it's fair to say that this purring vehicle is as cool and intriguing as the darkness surrounding it. It's not long before a name is given to this shop truck. And now that it's christened, everyone knows that the title is a perfect fit. The moniker for this black beauty, Heavy Metal.
You know, the cars that we do for the shop, we like to have the people that work here involved in them. So when it is done, you know, they can feel proud of the car, that they had their hands on it, they touched it. You know, that kind of deal. It really is a big deal in here because, you know, we don't get that much time to ourselves where we're able to, you know, work on something of our own.
Yes, it does represent the shop, but it especially represents what a talented team can do with metal. And in this case, we're not talking about metal that was nice and ready for an easy journey.
My dream car would never happen because that car has to be so perfect. Something I would never be able to do. Because I think everybody who builds a car is extremely hard on himself. You know, the next car is going to be better. The next car has got to be this. The next car should have this. And I think that's what keeps this type of car building that we're in very exciting. Well, I'm 29 years old, you know, now. And to this date, I believe we finished, and it's a rough number, but I mean, probably 30 to 35 completed cars since we been doing this. How many cars am I going to build? You know, I really have a number. You know, we're going to keep on doing it until it gets boring.
One thing's for sure, it's never going to get boring with hot rods like this around. Fiberglass, synthetic pieces. Sure, sometimes you need something light on your ride, but when it comes to getting your hands on the solid goods, the real deal, it can only be Heavy Metal. See you next time.